The capital of Xylaris shone like a jewel under the twin suns. Towers of crystal rose high above the streets, each one alive with streams of blue light that pulsed like veins. The great palace sat at the city's center, its walls curving like the petals of a giant silver flower. Inside, the grand hall was filled with hundreds of guests, both humans and Xylarians, celebrating 10 years of peace between their worlds. Captain Elias Trent stood near the royal platform, his posture straight, his eyes alert. His dark uniform carried the emblem of the human diplomatic guard. He was here for one reason only, to protect Queen Xyla, ruler of the Xylarian Empire. She was a tall, graceful figure, her chiton shimmering in soft gold under the hall lights. Her many-faceted eyes reflected the crowd, and the delicate crown on her head glowed faintly with embedded energy stones. The music of the ceremony was unlike anything Elias had ever heard. Alien instruments created soft, layered sounds, like wind passing through a forest of crystal. Around him, humans chatted politely with Xylarians, trading gifts and stories. For the first time in decades, there was laughter between the two species, instead of fear. Queen Xyla stepped forward to speak. Her voice carried a gentle hum, translated instantly through the air by small floating drones. "Today we stand together, proof that the stars are wide enough for us all," she said. The hall erupted in applause. Elias allowed himself a small smile. These were the moments worth protecting. But then it happened. In mid-sentence, Xyla's voice faltered. Her tall form swayed. A strange ripple passed through the fine plates of her armor-like skin. Her crown tilted and the light in her eyes dimmed. Before anyone could react, she collapsed onto the steps of the platform. Gasps filled the hall. Several alien guards froze in place, their antennae stiff with shock. Xylarian culture valued perfect control. Sudden illness was almost unheard of for their rulers. The human diplomats stepped back, unsure whether to help or stay out of the way. Elias moved without thinking. He sprinted up the steps and knelt beside the queen. Her breathing was uneven, and strange blue fractal patterns glowed faintly on her thorax. They pulsed like signals, fading and returning in an odd rhythm. He had never seen anything like it. "Medic." "Team now!" Elias shouted. The human translator drones repeated his order in the alien language. 2 Xylarian healers rushed forward with a floating stretcher. The Queen's closest advisor, Counselor Vryn, appeared from the crowd. His tall, thin body leaned forward, his large eyes narrowing. "What happened?" His voice was sharp, accusatory. "Has the human guard touched her?" "She collapsed," Elias said firmly. "I was the closest to protect her." But Vryn's gaze swept the human side of the hall. "Perhaps one of your species has brought a sickness our people cannot endure." The words sent a cold wave through the room. Whispers spread quickly. Humans and Xylarians stepped apart, their earlier warmth replaced with sudden caution. The healers lifted Queen Xyla onto the stretcher and carried her out. Elias stood, ready to follow, but 2 alien guards blocked his way. "You will remain here," one of them said, "until it is clear you are not a danger." Elias clenched his jaw. "I am her guard. You know I would never harm her." The guard did not move. Counselor Vryn stepped closer. "For now, Captain Trent, you are to stay in the guest wing. Isolation will keep our queen safe." Elias's mind raced. Something about Xyla's collapse felt wrong. She had been in perfect health this morning. He remembered how her eyes had locked on his when she spoke of peace, as if she were trying to say something beyond the official words. And then those strange, glowing marks. They didn't look like any disease he had studied in the cultural briefings. He returned to the guest wing where the humans were now gathered, confused and worried. Through the tall windows, Elias could see the spires of the alien city. Twin suns had shifted, casting a deep amber light over the streets below. But he couldn't stop thinking about the Queen. If she died, the fragile alliance between humans and Xylarians would shatter. War could return before anyone understood. What had happened? Hours passed. No news came. Elias paced the room, his mind replaying the scene again and again. Finally, a soft chime sounded at the door. When he opened it, he saw a Xylarian healer he recognized. Thara. She had a softer, more rounded form than most of her kind. Her skin a pale green. Months ago, Elias had saved her child during a small riot in the marketplace. Since then, she had treated him with quiet trust. "She is alive," Thara said, her voice low, but fading. "What happened to her?" Elias asked quickly. "I cannot speak here," Thara replied, glancing toward the hall. "Too many ears." She slipped a small crystal data shard into his hand. "This will tell you what I can, but you must be careful. The council is watching." Before he could say more, she turned and left, her movements fast and precise. Elias closed the door and slid the shard into the small wrist device he carried. A holographic image flickered to life. Medical scans of the Queen. Her internal systems looked stable at first, but then he saw it. Unusual energy pulses originating from a deep organ near her core. The pulses were not random. They formed a pattern, almost like a code or a signal. Elias frowned. This wasn't an illness. It looked more like interference. He leaned back, the weight of the situation sinking in. Someone, or something, had caused the Queen's collapse. And if the council was already blaming humans, they might be trying to hide the real reason. Elias knew one thing for certain. If he didn't act, the Queen would die, and peace would die with her. He looked out at the alien skyline once more, the amber light fading into a cool violet night. Somewhere beyond those glowing towers, the answer waited, and he would find it no matter what walls the council built around him. The palace at night felt different. By day, its silver walls glowed with light, but now the halls were shadowed and quiet, lit only by thin blue strips along the floor. Elias Trent moved through the guest wing like a restless predator in a cage. The crystal data shard from Thara still sat in his pocket, heavy with unanswered questions. He kept thinking about the Queen's collapse, the sudden dimming of her eyes, the strange blue fractal patterns pulsing on her thorax. It hadn't looked like sickness. It had looked designed. The door chime sounded again, soft and cautious. Elias approached it carefully. When it slid open, Thara stood there, her pale green form partly hidden under a dark healer's cloak. "We must hurry," she whispered. "The council has ordered strict isolation for all human guards. If they see me here, I will be punished." Elias followed without hesitation. They moved quickly down a narrow side passage, their footsteps muffled on the soft floor. Thara knew the palace well. She avoided the main corridors and passed through service tunnels that smelled faintly of herbal medicines. Finally, they reached a guarded doorway. Two Xylarian soldiers stood outside, holding long staff-like weapons that glowed at the tips. Thara stepped forward and showed them her healer's badge. "Emergency review," she said calmly. The guards glanced at Elias but did not stop them. Perhaps they trusted that no human would dare harm the Queen inside her own chamber. The private healing room was warmer than the halls, filled with a faint humming sound. Bioluminescent plants grew along the curved walls, their light shifting, slowly through shades of green and blue. In the center of the room lay Queen Xyla, resting on a soft cradle-like bed of living fibers. She was still unconscious, her breathing uneven. Elias stepped closer. The blue fractal marks on her thorax were brighter now, pulsing in rhythm with the faint hum in the room. They almost seemed alive, moving under her skin. "She is stable, but weakening," Thara said quietly. "Her systems are not failing naturally. They are being drained." Elias frowned. "By what?" Thara hesitated. "There is an old legend among my people, one not spoken in public. It says that the royal line is bound to something deep beneath this city, a living machine. If the link is damaged, the ruler's life will fade." He looked at her sharply. "You think this legend is real?" "I think it may be more than legend," Thara replied. She brought up the medical scan again on a wall display. "Look here. The energy pulses in her core are not from her body alone. They match a harmonic pattern, one I have only seen in ancient archives." Elias studied the scan. The pattern was too regular to be random. It was almost like a heartbeat, but slower, deeper, and it didn't belong to her. "Where does the pattern lead?" he asked. Thara looked around the room, checking the guards outside. Then she touched a point on the scan, opening a hidden map. It showed the palace above ground and a vast network of tunnels far below it. At the center, a large chamber pulsed, with the same blue light as the Queen's marks. "That chamber," Thara whispered, "is forbidden to all except the High Council and the Queen herself. It is called the Hive Core." Elias's mind worked quickly. "If the Queen is connected to this core, someone could attack her by interfering with it." Thara nodded. "Yes, and if someone wanted to end the alliance with your people, they could let her die, then blame the humans for her death." The thought made Elias's stomach tighten. "Who else knows about this connection?" "Few," Thara said. "But Counselor Vryn is one of them." That name brought no comfort. Elias remembered Vryn's eyes in the grand hall, sharp, calculating, already turning suspicion toward the humans. If Vryn had a reason to break the peace, this was the perfect way. A sudden hiss from the doorway made them both turn. Vryn himself stepped into the room, his tall shadow stretching across the glowing floor. "What are you doing here, Captain Trent?" Vryn's voice was cold. "You were ordered to remain in your quarters." Elias straightened. "I wanted to see if the Queen was safe." "She is under our care," Vryn said, moving closer to Zyla's bed. His eyes flicked toward the glowing marks on her skin, but he showed no surprise. "Your presence here is unnecessary." Thara stepped between them. "I requested him. I believed he could assist." "You believed wrong," Vryn interrupted, sharply. "Return him to the guest wing. And healer." He leaned closer to her. "Remember where your loyalty lies." The tension in the room was thick. Elias knew arguing now would only tighten the council's grip. But as two guards escorted him out, he caught Thara's eyes. She gave the smallest of nods, a silent promise that their conversation was not over. Back in his quarters, Elias replayed the scan in his mind. The Hive Core, a living machine beneath the city, connected to the Queen's very life. If the core was damaged or interfered with, she would die, and no one would need to touch her to make it happen. He sat at the desk, opening his wrist device and copying the scan from the shard. Then he began mapping the tunnels beneath the palace. Thara's overlay had been brief, but Elias's training allowed him to memorize most of it. He traced possible entry points, looking for one that wasn't guarded heavily. One spot caught his eye, an old service lift marked inactive. If it still worked, it might lead down toward the core. The night outside deepened into silent darkness. Elias knew time was running out. The Queen's breathing had already grown weaker. If he waited too long, she would be gone, and with her, the fragile peace between their worlds. He clenched his fists. He had sworn an oath to protect her, and he would not fail. In the shadows of his room, he made his plan. Before the next sunrise, he would find a way into the forbidden tunnels. He would see this hive core for himself, And if it truly held the queen's life in its grasp, he would protect it, no matter what danger waited below. The palace was silent in the early hours before dawn. The twin suns had not yet risen, and the sky beyond the crystal towers was a deep shade of violet. Most of the city slept, unaware that their queen lay between life and death. Captain Elias. Trent moved quietly through the service corridors, dressed in dark clothing instead of his guard uniform. His wrist device displayed a faint map, a rough sketch of the tunnels beneath the palace. The plan was dangerous. If anyone caught him, he could be accused of treason. But if he did nothing, Queen Zyla would die, and war might follow. He reached the inactive service lift marked on the old maps. The door was covered in dust, its control panel cracked. Elias pressed his hand to the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, faint blue lights flickered inside the buttons, and the door slid open with a slow hiss. The lift still worked, or perhaps something wanted him to use it. He stepped inside, the small chamber smelling faintly of metal and old air. The panel offered only one destination: be deep. Elias pressed it. The lift began to descend, moving far slower than any modern transport. The hum of machinery echoed faintly around him, almost like a heartbeat. Minutes passed. Then the doors opened onto a wide stone tunnel. The walls were carved with flowing patterns that glowed faintly, guiding his way forward. The air was warm, and there was a subtle vibration beneath his boots, as if the ground itself was alive. Elias moved carefully, scanning every corner. The tunnel branched in several places, but his wrist device tracked the energy pulses from the Queen's medical scan. They led him deeper toward the center of the underground network. At one point, he passed a massive mural carved into the wall. It showed tall insectoid figures, clearly Xylarians, standing beside another figure that looked shockingly human. The human wore strange armor and held a staff topped with a crystal. Both species were joined by streams of light flowing into a great circular machine beneath them. Elias stopped to study it. This was no random art. It was history. And if it was true, humans and Xylarians had met long before official records claimed. Could this be why the core reacted to human presence? Could this be why he felt a strange pull the deeper he went? He didn't have time to ponder further. A faint clicking sound echoed through the tunnel, sharp, rhythmic. He turned and saw movement in the darkness. Several small creatures emerged from the shadows, their bodies part metal, part insect. They had thin legs, glowing eyes, and blade-like mandibles. Their movements were coordinated like soldiers. Elias tensed, ready to fight. But when they came close, something unexpected happened. The lead creature paused, its eyes glowing brighter. Then it lowered its head slightly, almost like a bow. The others followed. Slowly, they moved aside, clearing the path. Elias's breath caught. They weren't attacking him. They were letting him pass. He walked forward carefully, the strange drones watching him but making no move to block his way. Once he passed, they melted back into the darkness, the clicking fading. The path sloped downward, the air growing warmer. The faint vibration under his feet grew stronger. Then, ahead, he saw a vast circular doorway. It was sealed by a living membrane of glowing blue material. In its center was a spiral pattern, the same shape as the fractal marks on the Queen's body. Elias placed his hand on the spiral. The membrane shivered, and light rippled outward from his touch. The spiral rotated slowly, opening like the iris of an eye. Beyond it lay the hive core. The chamber was enormous, easily the size of the palace above. In its center stood a massive structure, part living organism, part machine. It pulsed with light in slow, steady waves, each one matching the rhythm of the Queen's heartbeat. The structure's surface was covered in delicate patterns, like the veins of a leaf, and cables of living tissue stretched from it into the walls and floor. The sound here was deeper, a constant thrum that Elias felt. in his bones. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like blooming flowers. As he stepped closer, his wrist device flashed warnings. The energy levels here were beyond anything human tech could normally read. He touched the surface of the core. At once, visions flashed in his mind, not images but feelings, a sense of unity, of connection. The knowledge that the Queen was part of this living system, her life bound to its health, and somewhere deep inside, something was wrong. A thread of darkness ran through the light, eating away at it. Footsteps echoed behind him. Elias turned sharply, his hand moving to the small weapon at his belt. From the shadows stepped Thara, her healer's cloak drawn tight around her. Her eyes were wide with awe. "You found it," she whispered. "You followed me," Elias said. "I had to. If you were caught here alone, you'd never survive the Council's judgment." She moved closer to the core, her antennae twitching as she studied it. "It's weakening. The harmonic balance is off. That's why the Queen is fading." Elias nodded. "Then we fix it." But before Thara could answer, another voice spoke from the darkness. "Fix it?" The tone was mocking. "Why would we fix it?" Counselor Vryn stepped into the light, flanked by two heavily armed Xylarian guards. His large eyes gleamed with triumph. Elias's hand tightened on his weapon. "You're behind this." Vryn gave a thin smile. "The Queen's bond to this. Machine has held our people in a false alliance for too long. When she dies, my people will be free to act as they wish, without human interference." "You'll start a war," Elias said coldly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps we'll end one that never truly ended," Vryn replied. He turned to his guards. "Take him." The guards moved forward, weapons ready. Elias glanced at Thara. Her eyes flicked toward the core, then back at him. A silent signal. There was still a way out, but it would require using the core itself. The Great Hall was filled with tension. The alien council gathered in silence, their eyes fixed on the human guardian standing before them. He held the evidence carefully in his hands, proof of the engineered virus and the secret plan behind. The Queen's sudden collapse. The room was quiet, but the air felt heavy. Some council members looked shocked, others looked angry. A few whispered in low voices. The Guardian's heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. "This is real," he said clearly. "The Queen was poisoned by a virus made by someone inside your own people. This was not an accident. It was planned." A tall council member stood up quickly. His voice was loud and sharp. "You accuse us! You humans! You have no proof! Maybe this is your trick to take control!" The Guardian shook his head. "I do not want control. I want the truth. The virus was made with technology only known to a few here. I found the hidden labs. I found the plans." Murmurs spread across the hall. Another council member, an older woman with bright eyes, spoke. "If this is true, then we face a great danger. But why would anyone want to harm the Queen? And why? Now?" The Guardian looked down for a moment. "Because they want power. They want to take the throne and change everything. This group does not care about peace or friendship with humans. They want war." The room erupted in voices. Some shouted, some argued. The Guardian waited until silence returned. He spoke again. "I am in danger. They know I am close to the truth. They tried to stop me before. I fear they will try again." Suddenly, the doors at the back of the hall burst open. Armed guards rushed in, their weapons raised. Behind them, dark figures moved quickly, their faces hidden by masks. The conspirators had come. The Guardian's mind raced. He stepped back, raising his hands in peace. "Do not hurt the Council. I am the Guardian." One masked figure spoke with a cold voice. "The Guardian is a threat. He must be stopped." The council members gasped. Some guards looked confused. The conspirators pushed forward. The Guardian saw the danger and acted fast. He grabbed a small device from his belt and pressed a button. A bright light filled the room, temporarily blinding everyone. Using the moment, the Guardian moved quickly. He grabbed the oldest council member's arm and pulled her behind a heavy pillar. "Stay low," he whispered. He turned and ran towards the side door, hoping to get help. The conspirators shouted and tried to catch him, but the Guardian was faster. Outside, the air was cool and fresh. The Guardian ran through the palace gardens. The alien guards loyal to the Queen were already gathering, alerted by the alarm. The Guardian called out, "We are under attack! The conspirators want to take the Queen and destroy the Alliance." The loyal guards drew their weapons and followed him back inside. Back in the Great Hall, the conspirators were taking control. They had captured several council members and were moving to the Queen's chamber. Their goal was clear: seize power quickly before anyone could stop them. The Guardian reached the Queen's chamber just as the conspirators tried to break the door. He stood firm in front of them. "You will not harm her," he said loudly. One of the conspirators, a tall alien with cold eyes, laughed. "Who will stop us? You? You are only one human." The Guardian did not answer with words. Instead, he moved quickly. Years of training helped him dodge attacks and fight back. The battle was fierce. The Guardian was surrounded but did not give up. He used his strength and cleverness to slow the conspirators down. Meanwhile, the loyal alien guards arrived. They joined the fight, pushing the conspirators back. The Queen, still weak but alert, watched from her bed. She understood the danger. Her human guardian was fighting not just for her life, but for the future of their worlds. In the heat of the fight, the Guardian noticed one conspirator trying to escape with a small device, something important to their plan. He shouted, "Stop! That device is dangerous!" The guards chased after the fleeing figure. The Guardian stayed to defend the Queen. After a long struggle, the conspirators were defeated or captured. The loyal guards secured the palace. The Queen's breathing slowed, but she was safe for now. The Guardian turned to the council members, tired but determined. This attack was only the beginning. The hidden threat is still there. We must find them all before they destroy everything. The council nodded in agreement. They understood that peace was fragile and that the Guardian's warning was real. The Guardian looked at the Queen. "You must rest, Your Majesty, but when you are ready, we will fight together." The Queen gave a faint smile. "Thank you, my Guardian. You are more than a protector. You are my hope." The Guardian felt a new strength inside him. He knew the road ahead would be hard, but he would never give up, because the future of two worlds depended on it. The palace was calm, but tension still hung in the air like a thick fog. The Queen rested quietly in her chamber, slowly regaining strength. Outside, the council met again to plan their next move. The human Guardian stood with them, a quiet but firm presence among the alien leaders. The Guardian knew that time was running out. The conspirators had been stopped for now, but their plans were far from over. The hidden enemy was still out there, waiting for the right moment to strike again. He spoke softly but clearly. "We cannot fight this alone. We need help from human scientists and loyal aliens. We must work together." Some council members nodded, but others still looked uncertain. They remembered the fear and distrust that had built up over years between their races. One council member, a young alien named Raltek, stepped forward. "I will help. We must trust each other if we want to save the Queen and our worlds." The Guardian smiled, feeling hope for the first time in days. "Thank you, Raltek. Together, we can find a cure for the virus and stop the traitors." The next days were busy and full of action. The palace became a place of science and strategy. Human doctors arrived with alien healers. They studied the Queen's condition, looking for ways to fight the virus that still threatened her life. The Guardian spent every moment guarding the Queen and working with the council. He listened to their fears and shared their hopes. Slowly, a new alliance began to grow, not just between races but between hearts. But the conspirators were not idle. They had spread across the planet, gathering weapons and followers. They wanted to destroy the fragile peace and take control by force. One night, the Guardian stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. His mind was heavy with worry. Suddenly, a message arrived from Raltech. "Guardian," the message said, "our scouts found the conspirators' camp. They are planning an attack soon. We must prepare." The Guardian clenched his fists. "Tell the council. We will not let them win." The palace erupted into action. Soldiers trained, defenses were strengthened, and plans were made. The alliance was being tested like never before. When the day of the attack came, the skies darkened with ships and weapons. The conspirators launched a fierce assault, hoping to catch the palace unprepared. But the Guardian and his allies were ready. The battle was fierce and loud. Lasers and explosions lit the sky. Alien warriors fought bravely alongside human soldiers. The Guardian moved through the chaos, protecting the Queen's chamber and leading counterattacks. In the middle of the fight, the Guardian found himself face to face with the tall alien with cold eyes, the leader of the conspirators. "You cannot stop us forever," the leader hissed. "This planet will be ours." The Guardian looked into the alien's eyes with steady calm. "Not as long as we stand together. You forget one thing. We fight for more than power. We fight for hope." They clashed in a fierce battle. The Guardian used all his skill and training. The leader was strong and ruthless, but the Guardian's determination was stronger. Finally, with a careful move, the Guardian disarmed the leader and held him at gunpoint. The battle around them began to slow as the conspirators saw their leader captured. The remaining attackers fled or surrendered. The palace was safe. Inside, the Queen slowly opened her eyes. The healers smiled. The cure they had worked on was working. The virus was retreating from her body. The Queen looked at her Guardian. "You saved me," she said softly. "And you saved our worlds." The Guardian bowed his head. "I only did what any Guardian would do. But together, we can build a future where such threats no longer exist." The Queen's smile grew stronger. "Then let us begin." In the days that followed, the alliance grew stronger. Humans and aliens worked side by side to rebuild trust and prepare for the future. The conspirators were brought to justice, and peace slowly returned to the planet. The Guardian stood once again on the palace balcony. He looked at the stars, feeling hope in his heart. The battle had been hard, but it had shown what was possible when two worlds joined as one. The Queen's voice came from behind him. "The future is brighter because of you, Guardian." He turned and smiled. "Because of all of us, Your Majesty." Together they looked to the stars, ready to face whatever the future might bring. The palace was quiet in the early morning light. Soft beams of the twin suns filtered through tall windows, casting a warm glow on the walls. The Queen lay resting, her breathing steady and calm. The long nightmare was finally ending. The human Guardian stood nearby, watching her. He had never felt so hopeful. After weeks of danger, fighting, and uncertainty, the Queen was healing. Her strength was returning. Outside, the alien council gathered once again. This time, their faces showed relief and determination. The attacks were over. The conspirators were captured or fled, but the Guardian knew their work was not finished. The Queen opened her eyes slowly. Her gaze was clear and strong. She looked at the Guardian and smiled. "Thank you," she said softly. "You never left me." The Guardian nodded. "I promised to protect you, and I promised to protect our future, humans and aliens together." The Queen's smile grew. "The alliance is more important now than ever. We must rebuild trust. We must show our people that together we are stronger. The council agreed. They had seen the truth in the Guardian's words, and in the battle they fought side by side. The Guardian stepped forward. There is much to do. The virus was only a symptom of a deeper problem. Fear and distrust still exist, but I believe we can overcome them. One council member, an elder named Sira, spoke. You have shown us that a human can be more than a stranger. You are a friend and a hero. The Guardian felt a warmth in his chest. Thank you, Sira. It is an honor. In the following days, the palace became a center of hope. Scientists, diplomats, and soldiers from many worlds arrived. They shared knowledge, technology, and stories. Walls of fear began to crumble. The Queen grew stronger each day. She met with her people and with the humans who came to help. Her words inspired hope and unity. One afternoon, the Guardian stood with the Queen on a balcony overlooking the city. Below, aliens and humans worked together to rebuild damaged buildings and gardens. The Queen turned to him. Do you believe we can have lasting peace? The Guardian looked out at the busy streets. I do, because I see people willing to change, to trust. Because I see you, Your Majesty. The Queen smiled. Then let us lead the way. Suddenly, a young alien approached them, carrying a small device. Your Majesty, Guardian, the scientists have finished the cure. It can stop the virus completely. The Guardian took the device and studied it. This is good news. It means no one else will suffer like the Queen did. The Queen nodded. We will share this cure with all our allies. We will protect every life. Days later, the Guardian helped distribute the cure across the planet and to neighboring worlds. The alliance grew stronger with each step. But the Guardian never forgot the dangers they had faced. He trained new guards and worked with leaders to build stronger defenses, not just weapons, but friendships. One evening, as the sun set, the Queen held a special ceremony. She honored the Guardian for his courage and loyalty. She spoke to the crowd in her deep, clear voice. Today, we celebrate not only my recovery, but the strength of our alliance. Together, humans and aliens have faced darkness and found light. Together, we will build a future of peace and hope. The crowd cheered, many tears of joy shining in their eyes. The Guardian stood beside the Queen, proud and humble. Later, alone with the Queen, the Guardian asked, "What will you do now?" She looked out at the stars. "I will lead my people to a new era, one where fear does not rule, one where we trust each other. And you, will you stay with us?" The Guardian smiled. "Always. My duty is to protect. But now it is also to build." The Queen took his hand. "Then let us build together." The story ends with the Guardian and the Queen standing side by side, looking toward the stars. Their bond was not just of duty, but of hope and friendship. Two worlds united by courage and trust, and as they faced the future, they knew one thing for certain. Together, they were stronger.